Okay, Stephanie, so we're gonna make a video to help you finish off the sewing part of your work. So what I've got here is some kind of mock-ups of the different types of hand drawings that you've got. So I'm gonna show you how to sew all the pieces together and to sew so you're making it look like there is a thread that's running between the fingers, etc. So the order of these drawings is not exactly the order that I've got you to do it. I've put the order up on the screen, you'll be able to see it now. So the numbers that are on that drawing are the order that you would do it in. So there's a number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. So you just follow that order in terms of the sewing, but it's the same process for what I'm going to demonstrate here. Okay, so first thing you'll need to do is have your piece of black foam core. If you can't find it, or if you can't access it, we can still do the sewing part, and that way we can say your work was not as impacted as it could have been. Okay, so what you're going to need for this part of it is a thick thread. So an embroidery thread is good. If you don't have a thick thread, what I can do, or even a wool might be good, a thin wool. What I can do is make another video showing you how to make a thin thread thicker. It just involves folding and just making a kind of a thicker thread. So we're going to pretend that this is drawing number 1 here, and I'm going to show you how to start it. So you can see I've put holes here. Don't worry about them. That's just when I was experimenting here. So you're going to need to have your drawings kind of laid out on your foam board. So you're going to really need to measure out where the drawings are going to go and kind of pin them on beforehand. And then as you get to each drawing, so on the first drawing you'll unpin it, you'll sew, and then you'll pin it back down onto the foam core, just to keep it in the right spot. And so when we sew on the next one, all the drawings are in the correct spot. All right, so let's say that this is drawing number 1. Actually, this is actually drawing number 1, so we'll start with that one. So with your threaded needle, you're going to start sewing, and you got to be really mindful here about whether you've gone over or under. So we're going to kind of keep a track of going over and under, because we're going to go over, then under, then over, then under. So if you have a family member who is quite competent in sewing, get them to help you out with this. But essentially we just kind of want to make it look as though the thread is wrapped around the fingers. So also be very, very careful when you're threading the thread through the drawing. We don't want it to get tangled for one, but you also don't want to crumple or damage the drawing in any way. So remember, just over and under. All right, so once you've got, and we'll end up with it going, we'll end with it coming out through the top, because that will make it easier and more visible when it connects to the next drawing. So we've got our thread here, it's wrapped around the fingers. So as you can see there. So at this point, you would say that this one's done. You'd pin it back down to your foam board. You'd take off drawing number 2, and you would start getting ready to sew into this one. So there's no real right or wrong, pattern for how to sew it, but we're just trying to get it to look like as if a thread is wrapped around. So the longer the piece of thread, the better. And you might need to pull some more thread through, but if you're going to do that, be very, very careful. It'll tear the drawing very easily. And if you run out of thread, that's okay. We'll just, we can start a new thread and join it onto the old one. So it may even help with this if you have a light that you can shine through just to see where the edges of the fingers are when you're doing this. And this is where it's important to have those longer pieces of thread and really, really take your time with this. So we've got our two drawings that are connected. I mean, obviously, if you were going to keep going, you'd just keep sewing. But this is the kind of aesthetic we want. So it looks like there is thread